After 4 decades in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino has finally done the unthinkable. The legendary filmmaker, known for his brutal honesty and fiery temper, has revealed the names of the actors he truly couldn't stand working with. For years, people whispered about his explosive sets and unpredictable relationships. But now, Tarantino himself has opened up about the tension, betrayal, and hidden rivalries that shaped his remarkable career. What he said shocked even his most loyal fans and forever changed how Hollywood sees him. Quentin Tarantino's name has always carried a certain power in Hollywood. Since the early 1990s, he was known as the rebel who changed filmmaking forever. His debut, Reservoir Dogs, didn't just introduce a new director, it announced a revolution. He wasn't polished or traditional. He was raw, wild, and brilliant. But behind the creative genius was a man who could be impossible to please, someone whose perfectionism turned admiration into fear. Throughout his 40-year career, Tarantino earned the reputation of being both a visionary and a nightmare to work with. He demanded everything from his actors: authenticity, emotion, and total surrender to his vision. Some adored him for it. Others quietly despised him. Over the years, stories began to leak from his film sets. Some described moments of genius, while others painted a picture of chaos and confrontation. Tarantino believed that great art came from conflict. He often said tension on set led to magic on screen. But not everyone agreed. For some actors, his intensity crossed the line. Behind closed doors, arguments turned into screaming matches, and egos clashed in ways that left permanent scars. It wasn't just creative differences, it was personal. The first cracks began during Pulp Fiction, the movie that made him a household name. While the film was an instant classic, its production was filled with difficult moments. Tarantino's passion could shift in seconds from excitement to anger. His obsession with detail frustrated some of his cast. Yet the results spoke for themselves. Pulp Fiction became one of the greatest films ever made. But even with success, Tarantino's relationships with actors grew complicated. He was loyal to those who respected his process, but merciless to those who questioned him. And in time, that loyalty turned into resentment. He had favorites, actors he would cast again and again, but he also had enemies, people he vowed never to work with again. Among the many rumors swirling around Tarantino's name, one question always lingered: who were the actors he truly hated? For decades, he stayed silent. Until now. In a recent conversation, he finally decided to reveal the truth. And his honesty was brutal. The first name he mentioned surprised everyone: Bruce Willis. Tarantino admitted that working with Willis during Pulp Fiction was far from smooth. He respected Bruce's talent but hated his attitude. According to Tarantino, Willis came to set with his own vision of how scenes should be done, which clashed with Tarantino's carefully crafted direction. He once said Willis acted like the movie belonged to him, not the director. Their arguments got so bad that Tarantino swore he would never cast him again. Then came Uma Thurman, a name closely tied to Tarantino's legacy. Together, they created Kill Bill, one of his most iconic films. But their relationship fractured after a car accident on set that left Thurman injured. She later revealed that she felt betrayed by Tarantino, saying he pressured her into doing a dangerous stunt. Tarantino defended himself, claiming he never meant to hurt her, but the damage was done. For years, they didn't speak. When he later called her one of his muses, it felt hollow. Beneath the admiration was pain neither of them could fully erase. Tarantino also expressed frustration with Johnny Depp, whom he described as too obsessed with image and too afraid of looking foolish. Tarantino hated when actors cared more about how they looked on screen than about telling the story. Depp's perfectionism and refusal to take direction drove him mad. He once said, "Johnny wants to be the coolest guy in every scene." But sometimes movies aren't about being cool, they're about being real. Another actor who earned his dislike was Kevin Costner. Their feud began long before they ever worked together. Tarantino once accused Costner of badmouthing Django Unchained, calling it trash. When Costner denied it, Tarantino fired back in an interview saying Kevin Costner has no idea what good cinema is. That single statement sealed their mutual hatred. The last name Tarantino mentioned was Tom Cruise. He said Cruise was too corporate for art. Tarantino respected Cruise's discipline, but hated his control. He believed Cruise cared more about protecting his image than creating something authentic. "Tom is like a machine," Tarantino said. He's brilliant at selling movies, but he doesn't make them breathe. As the list went public, it sparked shockwaves across Hollywood. Some called him brave for speaking his truth. Others accused him of burning bridges. But Tarantino didn't care. He had spent decades biting his tongue, and now, with his career nearing its final act, he wanted honesty over diplomacy. In truth, Tarantino's confession wasn't about revenge. It was about reflection. After 40 years, he had seen the best and worst sides of Hollywood: the ambition, the ego, the art, and the heartbreak. He admitted that part of his anger came from his own insecurities. "When I was young," he said, "I thought every disagreement was betrayal. But now I see it was just people trying to protect themselves." Even so, the scars remained. Behind every name he mentioned was a story of tension that shaped his journey. And while Tarantino may have forgiven some, he would never forget. When Quentin Tarantino finally opened up about the actors he truly hated, it wasn't just another Hollywood confession. It was a deep reflection from a man who had spent his life chasing perfection. For 4 decades, he built a career on chaos, creativity, and control. Now, with time behind him, he was ready to admit how that same intensity often turned into anger, and how his passion sometimes burned the people closest to him. He didn't reveal those names to humiliate anyone. He did it to tell his truth, to explain what it's really like when two powerful personalities collide on a film set. Hollywood loves drama, but few understand how fragile that balance can be when art, ego, and emotion mix together. Tarantino had lived through all of it, and he was finally ready to explain why things fell apart with those he once admired. When he spoke about Bruce Willis, it was clear the wound was old but still deep. During Pulp Fiction, Tarantino was young, hungry, and bursting with ideas. Willis, on the other hand, was already a superstar. He came to the set with a sense of authority, a confidence that Tarantino interpreted as arrogance. Tarantino recalled moments when Bruce would challenge his directions, questioning camera angles or tone. "I wanted rawness," Tarantino said, but Bruce wanted control. Their arguments grew louder as filming continued. Tarantino wanted spontaneity, while Willis preferred precision. One day, after a long shooting session, Tarantino reportedly told him, "You're not directing this movie, I am." From that point, the tension between them was undeniable. Even though Pulp Fiction became one of the greatest movies of all time, both men walked away with bitterness. Tarantino later said, "I respected Bruce's talent, but I hated his waltz. He acted like he was too big to be vulnerable." That statement revealed a lot about Tarantino's mindset. For him, acting wasn't about looking good, it was about exposing yourself completely. He couldn't stand it when actors played it safe. In his view, art had to be dangerous. And when someone resisted that, it felt like betrayal. That's why his next confession about Uma Thurman hit harder than any other. Tarantino and Thurman had a bond that once seemed unbreakable. He discovered her talent during Pulp Fiction and later built Kill Bill entirely around her. She was more than an actress to him. She was his muse, the embodiment of the fierce, emotional women he loved to write. But everything changed after one tragic day on set. During the filming of Kill Bill, Thurman was asked to perform a driving scene down a dirt road.